Hello and welcome to Lachlan Likes a Thing, the show where I take a thing and see whether or not I like it. Now the thing we're looking at in this video is the Oppo PM3. So if you're not familiar with Oppo, they're a Chinese electronics company that originally came to prominence from their high quality Blu-ray players when that was a fancy new thing. Now these days they make all kinds of things, most notably smartphones, but also things like this, the Oppo PM3 portable planar magnetic headphone, which we've got very nicely modeled here today. So as a side note, I realized we never formally named this dummy head. So as per your suggestions, today I'm formally declaring her name as Tomoko, after the main character of Watamote, but also because Tomoko in Japanese means wise child. And although Tomoko doesn't say much, she sees and knows everything. So when I say the PM3 is a portable headphone, it sort of straddles that fine line between a portable headphone and a full-sized headphone that you can take outside the house, because at 320 grams, it's a little heavier than a lot of other portable headphones out there. And as you can see, it's a little bit chunkier as well, sort of more in line with something like the Bose & Wilkins P7. But as a planar magnetic headphone, this is actually very small and lightweight compared to a lot of planar magnetics out there. By the way, if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say planar magnetic headphone, you can actually have a look at an earlier video I made about the Fostex T50RP, which explains the technology behind planar magnetic headphones. But long story short, most headphones are dynamic driver headphones, so they use a circular diaphragm that's being driven by a voice coil magnet assembly, and that's what creates sound. With a planar magnetic headphone, it's more like a flat film which is driven by a grid of magnets which pushes the film back and forth as one flat sheet, and that's why it's called planar magnetic. Now supposedly the advantage of planar magnetic headphones is that it's more uniform distribution of magnetic force across a very low mass single sheet driver, and that's supposed to lead to all kinds of good things, including lower distortion, better bass performance, extended frequency response, at the expense of having a very heavy, expensive to manufacture magnet assembly. So it's really quite remarkable that the Oppo, which uses this technology, is as small and as light as it is. And you can also see that it's a very, very nicely put together package as well. It's just made of really high quality materials. This metallic headband yoke in particular is just dreamy. So this is a very, very smartly put together package. The ear pads on the PM3 are super thick and they're made of this super plush, soft pleather material. I really like it. But one thing to note is that the internal volume of the ear cup is a little bit small for a full-sized headphone. So if you have larger ears, you might find this a bit too cozy. So when it comes to how the PM3 feels on the head, I wouldn't say it's super comfortable. I wouldn't say it's super uncomfortable. It's about average. The ear pads being so plush really helps with the comfort, but the clamping force is somewhat substantial, and I don't know if that lessens over time. The other thing I should note, with the headband, you do sort of feel a little bit of a hot spot at the top of the headband, thanks to the 320 gram weight. The headband is somewhat plush, but you do feel a little bit of a hot spot up there. It's not as bad as some other headphones I've tried, like the Shure SRH 1540, which funnily enough feels super comfortable when you put it on at first, but after about 2 hours, it just feels like it's trying to drill through the top of your skull. But it is something to note. External noise isolation on the PM3 is pretty great, and I should also note that it comes with this really awesome hard case, which takes the edge off the $499 price. So let's talk about sound. The word that springs to mind most of all when I listen to the Oppo is mellow. It's got a very gentle, kind of very broad frequency response, and nothing much really stands out. And in that respect, it's really quite an enjoyable listen. Now, that said, it can be a little bit sedate because in terms of the high frequencies, they feel sometimes a little bit rolled off, so that there's not a lot of sparkle or energy to female vocals. Nothing really kind of lifts or jumps out at you. In terms of bass performance, I feel the bass at the very lowest frequencies is just a little bit rolled off. So it doesn't have that same kind of punch or slam that I hear in a lot of other planar magnetic headphones. So because of its gentle profile, even though the PM3 is quite articulate, because nothing really kind of jumps out at you from the bass or the treble, it can sound a little bit compressed at times because it doesn't have that kind of dynamic energy or fun to the sound. So in a track like Someone in the Crowd from the musical soundtrack of the movie La La Land, I feel like you can hear that the kick drums are pulled back a little, so there's not as much kind of oomph in them, and then the vocal chorus is a little bit flat. It's not really jumping out there. It's a little bit more sleepy than, say, another headphone that I consider really mellow, the Audio-Technica 990H, which has just that little bit of coloration both in the bass and the highs to make it kind of more toe-tapping and more enjoyable, especially as a portable headphone when I'm kind of moving about and I want something to cut through the background noise and give everything a bit more fun. But while the PM3 can sound a little bit sedate, I also think that that's one of its greatest advantages because it's such a tremendous all-rounder. You can throw basically almost anything at the PM3 and it will sound pretty decent. And I can't say the same for something like the Audeze Sign, where I think the Audeze Sign has the bass, it has the energy that the PM3 lacks, but it also has this really, really aggressive spike in the high frequencies that is just begging to be EQ'd out with the, the Cypher Lightning cable. And without that cable, I just find that a very, very difficult listen. So the PM3 is plain Jane neutral. It's boring, but the good kind of boring. And when I think about the PM3, I also think a lot about the HiFiMan HE400S, because that's another planar magnetic headphone that I thought sounded neutral and also kind of boring. Now, I was pretty disappointed in the HiFiMan HE400S because it had a lot of the disadvantages of planar magnetic headphones in that it was heavy and then it was big, but it didn't really have any of the advantages in terms of that kind of planar magnetic slam or that sort of magical sound. I don't think the PM3 has a lot of planar magnetic magic either, right? I don't think it sounds that much better or even better at all than a lot of really class-leading dynamic driver portable headphones that I've heard. But at the same time, it's still comparatively lightweight, it's still decently comfortable, and it's got a really neutral sound profile that I think you can still fall in love with, even if it's not kind of absolutely slamming in the bass or amazingly extended out in the treble. So I really like the PM3, but I use it more at home because I sort of like the 990H more as a portable headphone when I'm out and about. But for a lot of people, I can imagine that the PM3 could replace a lot of other headphones. It could do double duty both outdoors and at home. It's a nice package, and on that basis, I can really recommend it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this review, and you can check the description for links. And click the like button and leave a comment because I'm sort of late to the party with this one. As I said, I'm sure there's a lot of PM3 owners or former owners who can give you their experiences. Anyway, happy listening. This treble is too sharp. This treble is too rolled off.